the lack of overtaking we've seen in the last couple of races. For example, Monaco, where basically the grid almost finished exactly how it started. Before we get into exactly what the regulations are and what the changes are, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so we knew that the power units were obviously going to change. That was released a couple of years ago, but the F1 Formula, or the Formula 1 governing body, FIA, has officially unveiled the more regulations and sort of the full regulation of what's going to change. It still needs to be ratified and voted on by the World Motorsport Council, which will take place on 28th of June, but you can't expect it to go through. The basic summary is as follows. More agile cars, and they're going to be made lighter by 50 kgs. They're going to be feature a redesigned power unit, which is going to increase the battery power, and there's going to be an even split between internal combustion engine and the electric power, and 100% use of sustainable fuels. A very important thing, when you think about how maybe, environmentally unfriendly Formula 1 is with regards to fossil fuels, the travel, for example. And they've had a very big shift to try and make it as sustainable as possible so we can continue to enjoy the sport whilst it doesn't wreck the environment. And credit to them, they put their hands up and they very much acknowledge that they have to adapt and they have to change things. And they are taking steps forward. Another very cool idea is active aerodynamics, which will incorporate a movable front and rear wing, which will allow for closer racing, apparently. They're going to be looking at increased overtaking opportunities through the introduction of a new similar sort of thing to a DRS, a system which will give the driver a short burst of additional power if they are within 1 second of the car in front of them. Also, very importantly, with these changes, that they are making more robust rules with regards to safety, and then with the sort of the sustainable issues over there. So basically, the FIA single-seat technical director, Nicholas Tombazis, has said as follows with regards to the regulations. He says, with this set of regulations, the FIA has sought to develop a new generation of cars that are fully in touch with the DNA of Formula 1. Cars that are light, supremely fast and agile, but which also remains at the cutting edge of technology. And to achieve this, we have worked towards what we call a nimble car concept. So looking for a car which is a bit smaller and a bit more nimble in and around the track to provide more opportunities to overtake and the likes. In terms of the FIA president, Mohammed bin Sulayman, saying today the FIA is defining a hugely exciting future for the pinnacle of motorsport with the launch of a new set of regulations for the 2026 FIA Formula 1 Championship and beyond. Let's go through some of the various changes, shall we? So in terms of the power units, obviously they are set to deliver more power. The hybrid unit has dropped from 550 to 560 kilowatts to 400 kilowatts. However, the battery has risen significantly from 120 kilowatts to 350, which is an almost 300% increase in electric power. There'll be less from the sort of the combustion, but far more from the battery itself. So the amount of energy that can be recuperated during the braking phase is doubled per lap. The new regulations has also led to commitments from existing suppliers, so a record 6 companies which will be doing power units. It'll include Ferrari, Mercedes, and Renault, and it's also enticed apparently Honda to return, and then obviously Audi and Ford will also be doing power units through a partnership with the Red Bull powertrain. So in terms of the actual car design, cars are going to be lighter and smaller. So with regards to the weight, there's going to be 30 kgs shed potentially. 2026 cars are going to have a minimum weight of 768 kgs compared to the 798 kgs, which is where it is currently and has been the case since 2022. In terms of the wheelbase, it has been reduced by 200 millimeters to 3,400 millimeters, while the width has been cut from 100 millimeters but cut by 100 millimeters to 1900. So they have reduced both the width and the sort of the length of the wheelbase itself. Apparently, they say that the downforce as a result has been reduced by 30% and drag has been reduced by 55%. The 18-inch wheel size will remain, but the width of the tires will be reduced by 25 mils and the rears by 30 mils. Compared to the current generation of cars. In terms of the other sort of the aerodynamic innovations, this is where it obviously gets quite interesting. So it says that the FIA says the 2026 cars will be switchable between 2 configurations. One that will minimize fuel consumption, and the other one which will maximize corner performance. The active aerodynamics will involve a movable rear wing and a movable front wing, so to try and sort of get the best as we go. So you can kind of have different configurations depending on where you are on the track and stuff like that. The idea is that this will enable more greater cornering speeds and more sort of straight line speed as well. So you don't have to necessarily like, okay, cool, this track's got a lot of different corners and a very tough cornering track, therefore we need to sort of set that up the car like that. You can basically, your car will be able to do both. You'll be able to corner quickly as well as get that straight line speed. You don't have to compromise one for the other. The idea is also you're going to get that 1 second. If you're within 1 second of a car, you will get a sort of a boost from the power unit itself. Apparently, that's going to be similar to sort of the DRS idea. There'll be specific zones where that will potentially kick in. Once again, there is another overtaking aid that has been added to the regulations. And then just very quickly, they've talked about the push for greater safety. So they've introduced a 2-stage nose design, which is basically to stop things flying off. And they've also done a look at the protection around the driver and the fuel cell area, and basically just making the cars a bit safer. And then finally, the big thing is over there is that it says the Formula 1 power units are already the most efficient in the world. The F1 and FIS pursuit of reaching net zero carbon by 2030. The 2026 power units will run on fully sustainable fuels. So no more fossil fuels, basically, is the plan. More electric power, basically. So it'll be a shift towards 50% electric and 50% thermal power distribution. That's a lot to get through. That's a lot to try and comprehend. We'll have to wait and see what this looks like. But basically, the summary is cars that can adapt to corners and straights. So you're not gonna you don't just screw your front wing in, adjust and say right, that's the position. They will be able to sort of change. Basically, they're going to be active base. The car's going to be slightly smaller. The wheels are going to be slightly smaller. The car's going to be lighter, and they're going to be set up more for more opportunities to overtake. So the idea is to get back to racing. I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that they are trying to get these cars back to being, wheel-to-wheel racing, competitive, trying reducing the massive difference we're seeing from, a Kick Sauber and a Red Bull, the likes of that, where, there can potentially be 10 winners on the day, and not just, 3-4 cars who are really going to contend. Let me know if you think it's going to make any difference. Which of these regulations excites you? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve.
Hello and welcome, my name is Reese and today I'm going to be speaking to you about one of our channel partners, Bitdefender. Forever Sports is proudly supported by Bitdefender, one of the global leaders in cybersecurity. Stay safe with the most consistently top-rated antivirus of the last 10 years and counting. To protect yourself from cyber attacks, protect your browsing and personal information, and so much more, get Bitdefender. With Bitdefender's premium VPN, digital privacy and freedom is as easy as flicking on a light switch. Bank, stream, and download without exposing a single byte of personal information. Unblock your favorite streaming sites and get access to content that you want to watch on up to 10 devices today. Effective, invisible, and amazingly affordable. Use the link in the description to get started.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight, don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase, so catch me if I fall. Praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap, I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks, listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast, don't remember life before you, that's fast. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight, don't waste time to my place. feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.
Hello and welcome, my name is Reese and today I'm going to be speaking to you about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. Forever Sports is proudly supported by BITDEFENDER, one of the global leaders in cybersecurity. Stay safe with the most consistently top-rated antivirus of the last 10 years and counting. To protect yourself from cyber attacks, protect your browsing and personal information, and so much more, get BITDEFENDER. With BITDEFENDER's premium VPN, digital privacy and freedom is as easy as flicking on a light switch. Bank, stream, and download without exposing a single byte of personal information. Unblock your favorite streaming sites and get access to content that you want to watch on up to 10 devices today. Effective, invisible, and amazingly affordable. Use the link in the description to get started.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. Damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great. I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports for another Grand Prix weekend. Very, very, very exciting because it is very much getting into the business end. We're into the second half of the season, and off the back of last weekend, which was a fantastic weekend of Grand Prix racing, we are in Spa, and I think the big thing about this weekend is that it is anyone's game, absolutely anyone's game, and that is finally where we were trying to get for a while, and we finally have it. So welcome everybody to the channel. We are back as well. We took a little bit of a hiatus because of various different reasons, but we are officially back, and got live coverage for you throughout the weekend. So welcome back to the channel if you are a regular. If you are new, welcome to the channel as well. Slightly new look this weekend as well. As you can see there, we have got driver radios popping up at the bottom over there, so you can kind of monitor what's being said by them. We've tweaked the map a little bit as well as the timing board, so hopefully this makes it a little bit easier for you guys to get involved and to watch. So yeah, any feedback is always welcomed on it. And we have got a very interesting free practice ahead of us because we've got a couple of teams that brought in some upgrades, including the man on a screen there, George Russell. So Mercedes have brought in some Russells have brought in some upgrades in the last last few days ahead of this weekend after a really good weekend in Hungary. Well, a good weekend for Hamilton, and not a great weekend for Russell. But they've got quite a lot of different upgrades. So if we look at the upgrades for the W15, this is the last race as well before the summer break. The diffuser has been tweaked apparently with a subtle change made to its roof profile. Apparently this is to increase rear camber in the diffuser's roof region, which increases local flow acceleration, which in turn increases local downforce and drag. Apparently there's also a revised floor edge wing with an additional flap element over the forward section, which is dropping the local pressure behind the fence system, increase forward floor load. And then the beam wing has also been changed. They've brought in a single element wing aimed at reducing local downforce and drag. Other circuit specific changes, by the way, for this weekend. Oh my goodness, Esteban Ocon has stopped on the side, and we're not entirely sure what's going on over here. Doesn't look good for Esteban Ocon, who, by the way, has just signed for Haas and will be on the grid next year. Very, very interesting over there. So he's pulled up to the side. Not entirely sure what is wrong with them as all the cars now gets going, does Esteban Ocon. As I was saying, though, for Mercedes, they've got a couple of circuit-specific changes, including a low camber, a small chord front wing flap, looking to try and help the balance, and running lower downforce rear wings apparently as well. So we'll try and find out exactly what's happening with Esteban Ocon. Not the start to the practice he would have really liked. Hello, Old Man Russo. Hello, everyone. Good to see the channel back on air. Yeah, we are back. We are indeed back, and hopefully back for good. A couple of things we need to sort out, but we are good to go. So settle in. Welcome to the channel, and let's get going. Please do smash a like on the video, by the way. We've got to try and get all the old people back onto here. And let's get some new people into the chat as well. Hello, Yanni, saying you have the track on screen. We do. We've also tweaked it slightly to try and make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. So, yeah, a couple of changes to the whole studio look. So as you can see on screen, and now we've got that Yuki Tsunoda's gone a bit wide there. Up. Yeah. How's that for timing? He has gone off and spun basically and managed to go in between a section of the track where there is no barriers. I think it's back by the pits there. So a couple of early mistakes here from a couple of the drivers. And this is, we are in Spa, which, by the way, is where Max Verstappen has dominated in the previous years, winning the last 3 Belgium Grand Prix. So expect to see him respond after a disastrous weekend last week. Apparently, Red Bull have told him no more video games. And I think he's quite happy to tell everyone where to shove that idea. It's an interesting one, isn't it? You know, ESC, you know, didn't have the best race last weekend. Did seem a bit grumpy. Was sim racing until sort of 3-4 a.m. You are talking about the man who's dominated the sport for the last couple of years. So it's one of those things where I think that as well, to be fair, I think that Red Bull did make a few mistakes last week, which they don't characteristically do. So I think it's a combination of things. I think it's pretty simplistic just to say that because he was racing until all hours in the morning, that's the reason why he had a bad race. But I do expect to see a response from Red Bull this weekend. That I think is probably the main thing. And yeah, one thing for certain is that Red Bull are not going to rest on their laurels. So the fact that they'll know that other teams are starting to catch up and make sure that they have got an answer to that this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see what that answer is and where they can get themselves to. And more importantly, maybe it's not just about Max Verstappen. It's about getting Sergio Perez into some decent times, because at the moment the Constructors' Championship is very much starting to swing with both Mercedes and McLaren coming into the conversation because of how good the last few races have been for both teams. And if they don't manage to get, at the moment they're a one-man team, literally, because Sergio Perez is battling just even to get to the points at the moment, let alone get him to the first, the top sort of 5, top 3, even get onto a podium. So Daniel Ricciardo was the one that spun earlier in turn 1, and apparently saying that there was some overnight rain. Apparently a couple of the curbs are quite damp. And now reckons that his front left tire has a flat spot. We talked about those Mercedes upgrades. Red Bull have abandoned the Hungary upgrades. So that's interesting. So apparently the cucumber-shaped engine cooling channels either side of the driver's head are back. So they've gone back to what they had before. And so whatever they tried in Hungary obviously didn't quite work for them. And they've gone back to what they had before then. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see how, obviously, that's actually quite important, because previously we've seen Red Bull, every single time they bring in upgrades or anything, they just kind of come back and dominate. But not quite been the case this season, so definitely having to work a lot harder are Red Bull to remain as competitive as possible. And I think that's Max Verstappen there just holding up one of the Mercedes. So at the moment, the fastest lap man on track is Max Verstappen, who's really looking to try and respond last weekend. The two McLarens are up there in Piastri and Lando Norris, and you've then got Lewis Hamilton in between there. Oscar Piastri was his first ever Grand Prix win last weekend, a driver born in the 2000s. How's that for everyone who wants to feel a little bit old? Oscar Piastri, born in 2001, 23 years old, winning Grand Prix. It's not even like he's that young to win a Grand Prix, not nowhere near the youngest, but does show you how young some of these drivers really are. George Russell now on a hot lap, though, not flying too much at the moment. He finds himself, well, he hasn't actually really clocked a lap just yet, so this will probably be a proper lap. So first hot lap for him, and I think we're going to see him. I think he's actually spun around a little bit there, has George Russell. It's not going to be particularly rapid. And he goes up to 5th place. Not too bad, 146. Still a reasonable amount of back. I'm trying to find trying to find confirmation of that new engine. That was the plan, or apparently they said if it's very, very likely that it's going to have a new engine. I'm not sure if it has been confirmed if they have taken it just yet. Right, Pierre Gasly, and goes fourth fastest. Needs to have a much better weekend in the Alpines. Not a good time last weekend, but so interesting to see how they respond. At the moment, everybody is out on track, or has been out on track and clocked time, except for Esteban Ocon, who had that issue earlier on, has officially signed for Haas. Interesting decision that, and good to see that he will be on the grid. I think the main thing about this, for example, now Haas has completed their lineup, so that's big news for them. It will be Esteban Ocon and Oliver Behrman who will take up those two seats. But Esteban Ocon is a man who's won a Grand Prix, won the 2021 Austrian Grand Prix, in an Alpine. So him and Pierre Gasly, both race winners. And this is the strange thing about Alpine, is that they have won races before. They have been competitive, and just not quite been there at all this season. And interesting that after that incident when he collided with Pierre Gasly, team principal talked about the fact that there were appropriate consequences, and a week later announced that he would leave the team. Everybody thought that was kind of going to be the end for him. However, he has officially signed a multi-year deal to join Haas, and he is going to have a rookie alongside him in the form of Oliver Behrman. So not all doom and gloom for Esteban Ocon, who will remain on the grid next season. Now we're running on board with Charles Leclerc, who's been pretty slow so far early in the session here. Ferrari's had a very disappointing weekend last weekend. Very, very frustrating for them. Continuously, both of the team strategies doesn't quite seem to have the pace that we'd like to see them. But that's a bit better there from Charles Leclerc, coming through at a 1:45.690, coming up into fourth fast, just slightly faster than his teammate Carlos Sainz, who's yet to confirm as to where he will be driving next season. And that's an interesting one because I'll tell you what, the options are getting fewer and fewer. More and more teams starting to fill up their teams, and no confirmation yet where he will be going. But speaking of returns, there has been a official confirmation that former Ferrari team principal, Matteo Binotto, is officially going to be back in Formula One. He has been signed by Audi and is going to be leading that Audi Formula One project when they make their debut in 2026, in 2 years' time. Now, the big chat was that Carlos Sainz was going to be the big sort of signing there, the big driver, the sort of marquee man for the team. Nothing been confirmed just yet, so we'll monitor that situation. But I think the main thing is, where does he go next season? Spot open at Red Bull in theory. Spot open at not really spot open at Red Bull. There's a spot open at RB. So that could then lead themselves to a spot open at Red Bull if they were to, for example, demote Sergio Perez. But spot open at Mercedes is the big one. Apparently Williams as well, potentially an option for him. Anthony saying, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Lindio. Welcome back. Good to see you guys all back in the chat. Apparently, the fix on Esteban Ocon's car is going to take about half an hour, so it looks like he won't be getting a lot of practice in. Might be able to get back towards the end of the session and get some work on that car. But as you can see, we've been running for almost 15 minutes, so expect to see the car start to come in very soon for some adjustments and stuff. But most of the cars are currently out on track. In fact, it's just Esteban Ocon who's currently in the pits, and Max Verstappen still continues to be the fastest man on track. Lewis Hamilton has got the second fastest. His teammate George Russell down in 11th fastest. Right, I'm going to put a poll in the comments saying who will win the most Constructors' Championship points this weekend? That's what I want to ask. So between Ferrari, McLaren, probably the favorites, Red Bull, and Mercedes. An interesting poll, because it's not just about what Max Verstappen's going to do for Red Bull, for example. It's going to do. It's going to be about what can Sergio Perez do. So equally, for example, you look at the McLarens that won 2 last week. That is the perfect way you start to bring in the Red Bulls and you start chasing them in the constructors. Julia's saying, I don't know what's worse, but not to join Audi or Ocon, who isn't exactly a good teammate, driving alongside a rookie next year. Yeah, these are the things, isn't it? Interesting times ahead. I'll be very interested to know what the conversation with Esteban Ocon. The fact that it has been a multi-year deal, for example, so they obviously believe in him as basically almost, their main driver. Oliver Behrman is a rookie next season. Is en route to potentially go and drive a Ferrari full-time in a few years' time. That will be the hope for Ferrari. It'll all come down to what he does next season. Obviously, did score points when he did have that race. We filled in for Carlos Sainz this season. But Binotto back, as I said, when you look at what happened at Ferrari, wasn't great. It wasn't great. So if you're an Audi fan, maybe rumours to be a bit nervous about that. But hey, you never know. Maybe it was just the wrong environment for him and he didn't have the right tools and stuff like that. Frederic Vasseur has looked a bit better this season, but Ferrari, in general, have actually probably fallen a bit back in terms of other teams having gone a lot better than them. I mean, last year it was basically, Ferrari versus Red Bull-ish. Red Bull were dominating. And then towards the end of the season, McLaren and Mercedes started to put a bit of pressure. Now, all of a sudden, Mercedes and McLaren already very competitive. We've got wins for Lewis Hamilton this season, wins for Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. And Ferrari, on the other hand, not one of the feature teams who are really starting to compete. So, frustrating times ahead. But we'll have to wait and see exactly how this all plays out. Charles Leclerc, not impressed with radio engineer, speaking to him during a fast lap. You know what, Charles? Actually, I don't have time for the shit. Leave your race engineer alone and start actually putting some times down. Because, yeah, you and Science have not been good the last couple of weekends. And yes, you can go talk about a poor car and the likes of that. But, we look at the racing, for example, and what we've seen the last few. I mean, Carlos Sainz last weekend had a really bad start. And Ferrari just in general have been stuffing around, and I include the drivers in that. So, less shit for you, Charles, because you've got a very eager beaver in Lewis Hamilton coming to your team next season. And if you don't be very careful, he is going to make you look very ordinary if you don't start sorting out your shit.
Proof that anything can be.
I'll just try to get see if we can get information on the Esteban Ocon issue and find exactly what they are busy talking about. Doesn't seem to be able to any official information. But yeah, we see a lot more. All the cars starting to come to the pits there. There's the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. And we've had our first sort of real run. And now the teams will be able to come inside, get some information, make a few adjustments. Max Verstappen, by the way, did improve the lap just before coming in. George Russell had gone second fastest, just slightly before him. So Max Verstappen at the moment with the fastest lap on in the first practice here. Almost 20 minutes in, with a 1:44.524. Then George Russell, then Lewis Hamilton, then the McLarens, and then the Ferrari. So it's a pretty orthodox top 7. And Sergio Perez continuing to kind of be the odd one out. He's sitting down at 10th. The top 4 teams very much are Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari. And yet Sergio Perez has decided, you know what, he actually doesn't really feel like representing Red Bull in a good light. And he's sitting down in 10th and has been struggling for a few races. So, yeah, I mean, literally ever since he got that contract, he's been absolutely awful. Has to improve, does Sergio Perez. I reckon they're probably already regretting giving him that contract. But, yeah, let's go through some of the other sort of changes that the cars are making. So Ferrari have not brought in any upgrades, but have made some changes to the car for the circuit-specific times. So they've made some adjustment on the front and rear wings, aiming at lowering the downforce at both ends of the car. The idea that the front wing flaps have been depowered to allow for modulation. McLaren also doing a couple of tweaks. They've done a lower downforce rear wing assembly to reduce the drag, and an off-road beam wing to work in tandem to trade downforce and drag efficiently, apparently. And Alpine have brought in a couple of updates as well, quite a lot over there. They've got a redesigned engine cover to improve cooling efficiency with internal airflow, the target. And they've also got a new circuit-specific beam and rear wings to reduce the downforce there. They've got a new brake inlet and exit ducts to allow for better management of rear brake temperatures. And the wing mirrors have also been revised in light of the changed air wing cover and side pod design. So a couple of changes there because of the engine cover. Apparently going to allow for better air control and quality towards the rear of the car. Sauber brought a lot of upgrades for Hungary. They are bringing more upgrades to Spa. There are new mirror stays and apparently a reworked floor, which will deliver more local aero load. On the front wing, there are apparently shorter chord flaps to reduce downforce generated in order to better balance the lower rear wing configuration being used for this specific race. They have brought a reprofiled wing upper flap to continue doing that. They've got a whole bunch of diagrams, stuff like that. There's some very cool stuff out there. And then Haas brought a couple of upgrades as well. Very simple. Apparently, on the rear and BA wings, there's less cambered profiles just to reduce some drag. Whilst Red Bull, Williams, and Aston Martin have not made any change to the car, although we have just seen apparently Aston Martin have changed a few things for the circuit, and potentially a new engine as well for Max Verstappen, but no major upgrades coming for those three teams this weekend. Charles Leclerc back out on track, by the way. And I'm just going through his positions. I actually want to look at that to see where he's been in the last few things, but not having the best season yet, Charles Leclerc. Let's go have a look at where the championship does lie, looking at the constructors as well as the individual to see who is in the running and how much of a crisis, for example, are Red Bull in a crisis in terms of the Constructors' Champion. So if you look at the Drivers' Championship, Max Verstappen up in first place with 265 points. Lando Norris behind with 189. Charles Leclerc with 162. Just behind him is his teammate Carlos Sainz. Then got Oscar Piastri, who that win last weekend, very much putting him up there in fifth place. Lewis Hamilton a bit further back in sixth. Then Sergio Perez down in seventh. George Russell in eighth. Fernando Alonso in ninth. Lance Stroll in 10th. The three drivers who have yet to get off the mark are Zhou Guanyu, Logan Sargent, and Valtteri Bottas. So both Saubers yet to score points this season, as well as the Williams of Logan Sargent. Meanwhile, the Williams of Alexander Albon scored 4 points so far this weekend. Esteban Ocon in 18th with his 3 points. A reminder that Oliver Behrman drove one race, got 6 points, and remains 15th in the Drivers' Championship. 14th in the drive. Well, I suppose tied 14th with Pierre Gasly. So that is how the drivers are shaping up. If we look at the constructors, this is even more interesting, isn't it? Red Bull with 389 points, McLaren with 338, Ferrari with 322, Mercedes pretty far back to 241, but the top three there, Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari, really are not much between them, and Mercedes have brought a lot of distance. And then after that, it's a long way to go before you get to Aston Martin with 69 points. So very much a four-horse race in terms of the Constructors' Championship. And I don't think that that's one that's a given. I genuinely think that these cars can have a go at Red Bull and reel them in. So, yeah, we're going to be back in very shortly and have a look at exactly what's going on with the next runs. But at the moment, Max Verstappen fast on track, followed by George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, then Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc has gone a little bit faster than Lando Norris. He goes 5th fastest. Then there's Norris, Sainz, Gasly, Albon, Sergio Perez, rounding up the top 10. And I'll be back in just a bit. Right, and we are into the final 50 minutes of FP1, and Max Verstappen has very much set the tone early on in the Grand Prix weekend with a time of 143.372, the fastest so far. Alex Albon, by the way, is a surprise in number 3. The third fastest of the session. We then got Oscar Piastri up there, the two Mercedes, Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez has got up a little bit further. He was sitting at 10th fastest. He's up to 7th fastest. Lando Norris, then Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll rounding up that top 10. 30 minutes exactly on the clock. And looking at it so far, it looks like it could be another long weekend in the Haas. Both those drivers officially will not be at Haas. Will be a brand new lineup at Haas, by the way, if you have missed it. So Esteban Ocon, who has just signed for Haas, has not been able to clock a lap this session. Had problems basically the first, second lap he had out there. And they have basically been repairing his car ever since. You can see by his tyre age, only the 1 lap over there. Zhou Guanyu continues to struggle, as does Valtteri Bottas, Logan Sargent 50, Yuki Tsunoda, Daniel Ricciardo. The RB is not particularly fast in this session either. So not too many surprises. Maybe that big surprise as Albon. Maybe he might have a bit of surprise pace this weekend, and we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. We will have free practice 2 a bit later, followed by free practice 3 tomorrow. We will then have the qualifying tomorrow at 4 o'clock before the Grand Prix on Sunday. Standard time, 3 o'clock. It is going to be 44 laps or 120 minutes. 44 laps is a bit of a longer circuit. There you can see the lap times there, 143, slightly longer, for example, than Hungary last week, which I think was about 77 laps. So a slightly shorter lap race, for example. In terms of the actual length of the race, generally it tends to be about the same. And yeah, and early predictions, by the way. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who are you backing this weekend? We put a poll up, by the way, asking who will win the most Constructors' Championship points. It's supposed to be this weekend. But McLaren very much being nominated at 65%, Mercedes 20%, then Red Bull with 5%, and Ferrari with just 10%. So people backing the McLarens to continue their dominance across the team. I think that's the important thing. It's not just been Lando Norris who's been fast so far in the season. It has obviously also been Oscar Piastri, who won last weekend for the first time in his career. So both McLarens very much in the mix. I think that's the main thing. Same things about both Mercedes in the mix. You know, you start to just knock up points with both your drivers consistently, and that's how you reel in a Red Bull, given the fact that they're struggling to get Sergio Perez into the points at the moment. And he needs to have a strong weekend as Sergio Perez has been qualified. I think he's missed the last 2 Q2s and Q3s. He's going to be going out in Q1. So not been a good time for Sergio Perez. Last week, we also saw George Russell go out in Q1. And so not ideal there either. So work to do. If you're new to the channel, by the way, please do subscribe. We are on the road to 7,000 subscribers, as you can see down in the bottom over there. So please do subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing to do. Yeah, obviously we want to try and grow our community as much as we can. So any help and support will be much appreciated. So just going through the schedule there. By the way, also F2 and F3 this weekend. So we will be live at just after 3 o'clock for F3 qualifying, followed by F2 qualifying, followed by the second practice session starting at 5 o'clock, which is in about 2.5 hours. And that will then wrap up the day's coverage. And if you are a big sports fan, well, you know that there is the Olympics this weekend. We've got some coverage over on Forever Sports Extra as well. And opening ceremony tonight, which should be quite cool. So if you're looking for something to watch, that is definitely on tonight and something for you to go and get yourself stuck into. So a couple of cars into the pits over here. Last few adjustments for a couple of laps over here. We're into the final 10 minutes on track, and as mentioned, Max Verstappen still the fastest so far this weekend. He has gone 3 for 3 so far in the last 3 Grand Prix. Here at this track, he is dominated Belgium for the last few years. And as we go into the winter break, an opportunity for him to try and respond. And I think 2 things. I think he'll want to try and finish on pole, and try and definitely, obviously, win the race this weekend. Let's have a look at the rest of the schedule, shall we? Because we've still got lots of racing to do this year. It's not just, you know, we just got past the centre part. So we're going to be having a break after this race. We'll be back in basically a month, 23rd to the 25th of August, over in the Netherlands. Then Italy, follow in the following weekend. We have only got a week break before we go to Azerbaijan and Singapore for a bit of an Asia swing. Then back to America for United States, Mexico, and Brazil in October and November. 3 weekends in a row as before we return back to Vegas. And then we'll finish the season back in the Middle East in Qatar and Abu Dhabi. 6th to the 8th of December. 8th of December is when the season will officially And if we look at F3 and F2, for example, they're far more into their season. They are currently sitting over here at Spa. F3, for example, only has 1 weekend left. That is Monza in September. And if you look at F2, they've got Monza before going to Baku in September, and they've got Qatar and UAE as well. So we will still have obviously some F2 to come, but not a lot of F3 remaining, just the 1 weekend after this. And so it basically becomes sort of purely F1 really moving forward. So let's sort of see what Yuki Tsunoda currently on track. That's because who we're following. Not had a particularly good session, sitting pretty far off the pace. So there you can see Oscar Piastri 0.5 of a second behind Verstappen. As Albon a further 0.2 of a second in behind Piastri. Not too much between those cars over there. And I think you have to go down to Bottas before you see about any sort of cars who've not got under that 145 mark at the moment. But just Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri, who have gone under that 144 margin in this practice session with 7.5 minutes left on the clock. Looking over here, this looks like Carlos Sainz. And yeah, it just goes wide. They hits a bit of the gravel. Could have ended a lot worse there. Just took far too much curbs there, did Sainz. A couple of people have gone wide there over there. Fernando Alonso apparently not happy with the engine. And he was asking earlier, saying, is the engine okay? How can we be slow in the first sector? And his engineer saying that they are checking it. Ocon, by the way, officially will not take further part. They're apparently looking at a potential water leak in Esteban's car, and he will not come out once again. So he will not be involved at all in the first practice. Right, looks like Max's engineer might press the wrong button, saying, what do you think the timings are? And then Max Verstappen said, you tell me the timings. And he then apologized for him. So hopefully they're on a bit of better terms than they were a week ago, where a bit of friction between Max and his engineer. They were asking what makes Max Verstappen so quick, and Sky Sports is now the truth, saying that Verstappen is quick on pretty much every track, but he's seriously good around Spa. I wonder if Verstappen's engine has turned up a bit more, giving him some more punch out of the corner. So Red Bull almost betting in his new internal combustion engine. There's confirmation of the new engine, blowing off the cobwebs, if you like. I would have also thought Verstappen would set the car up purely for the race. So for him to be this quick over one map is mighty. Yeah, I think this is very much the perfect track and race for Max Verstappen to get the season back on track. It is a track that he has dominated over the years. He's very comfortable here at Spa. He'll have a big support, and with a new engine, I think will be very, very fast. So now complaining about some oversteer in some of the corners and a bit of understeers and others, saying it's very unpredictable. Looking at Alex Albon, who sits third fastest, bit of a surprise in that first session, and he'll be hoping that he can continue that kind of pace, maybe get himself into the points this weekend. Right, running on board for Fernando Alonso. He was complaining about engine problems earlier, so he didn't really have enough power in the first sector. And if you look at the tyre usage, softs have been used quite a lot throughout the teams at the moment. So if you look at the moment on where each teams are at the moment, Max Verstappen running on a set of softs, Piastri on mediums, Albon on hards, George Russell sitting there on softs, as well as Lewis Hamilton, Leclerc on mediums, Perez on hards, Norris on softs, Sainz on mediums, and Stroll on hards as well. But pretty much every single, most of the drivers have gone with sort of two compounds throughout the session. Verstappen's gone with hards and two sets of softs. Piastri going with mediums and softs. Albon with softs and hards. Russell, Hamilton, Leclerc all moving between the softs and the mediums. Sergio Perez has also tried some hards. Both the Red Bulls have gone with the same sort of tyre compounds. Sainz same as well. So we're pretty consistent across the teams with regards to the tyres they've gone with so far in this session. And you sort of expect to see them try and use an additional compound, the one that they haven't used in the next practice, which starts, as I said, about 2.5 hours. There's under 4 minutes left on the clock. And we're going to end the poll over there. So I'll ask you, who's going to score the most points, constructors points, this weekend? And everybody backing McLaren to continue their dominance. Well, Oscar Piastri sitting second fastest, Lando Norris eighth fastest. You know, in theory now, I think they'll actually score the same amount. So Red Bull right now, in terms of that leaderboard, would score more points. I think McLaren would be second. We'll have to manually check out the Russell and Hamilton, the two Mercedes, and then the Ferrari 6th and 9th. Not ideal. I haven't seen too much of improvement so far. But hopefully we'll see some bit of improvement for them over the weekend. Obviously, we've got qualifying tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Remember, it's always an hour earlier on the Saturday than it is on the Friday. So pre-practice at 12:30 and qualifying at 4 o'clock. Make sure you don't miss any of that. And if you are watching, by the way, if you are new, make sure you subscribe. As I said, the road to 7,000 subscribers is on. And if you are new as well, please make sure you smash a like on the video. Show your support. It doesn't take you anything to like a video, but it does help us. And we're going to try and build a community as big as possible. So always nice to have new people. So there's concerning messages from the Mercedes duo. As Russell saying he has no rear end at all, and Hamilton saying, I've got to come in, the bouncing is really bad, so they need to go and sort that out. And also very interesting at the moment is that Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren are among the teams that have been fitted with special 4K video cameras in location on the front nose to monitor any flexing with the front wing. Red Bull appeared to be unhappy with some of the rival teams earlier this year regarding flexible parts, which is not allowed in F1. So we have to go and see if that is the case. So apparently a 4K video camera is on the front nose to see if that front wing is in fact flexible, which is not allowed. So very, very interesting. The fact that the accusations are made and that they are investigating. As we go to the final 2 minutes, pretty much basically the final couple of laps over here, and you can see Lando Norris is looking really, really good in behind. I think that's Yuki Tsunoda. And we'll get past him. In fact, they almost basically, yeah, I guess to get past him down that straight. Right, let's see what Lando Norris can clock before the end of the session, yeah. So I say my tires, what they've been through the gauntlet, they look destroyed. Currently on the soft tire, which has been running for 11 laps. For Logan Sargent. You can see there on the left to right there. So on the left there, that's the tire they're currently on. And then the tire to the right is the one that they used before. So Verstappen currently on a pair on a set of hards, Piastri on mediums. Just so you guys understand that. Right, final 30 seconds. We're looking on board here with Charles Leclerc. He's going to, I think, have one more hot lap before. He just gets in there. 23 seconds left on the clock. Sergio Perez on a final time lap. Let's see if he can try and bring that time down a bit. Right, not looking a bit terrible here for Charles Leclerc, but I don't think we're going to see a fast lap yet from him. Currently running on that set of mediums. Done a lot of laps on them as well. Lost an opportunity to turn 8, careful of doglegging, focus on throttle pickup. That is the message to Lando Norris, who's not been as fast as he probably would have liked to be in this first practice. With the clock officially going red, so we'll have to wait for the final couple of cars to get over the lap before we sort of get to see exactly what some of the times are going to be. I'd love to have like to see the visuals of what that camera on the front of the Ferrari is going to look like here. Right, so that is the session, everybody. That is the checkered flag. And I think that's pretty much that. I think Lando Norris may be the only one worth watching to see if he can get around in a better lap. I don't think so there. It's not terribly far behind. Might be able to improve his time. Just waiting for him to go across. But from the sounds of that radio message, I think that's probably him done for the session. Yeah, and he does come in there with a 1:49. Yeah, so best to stop there. Right, people, thank you very much for joining me. Well, guys, we'll be a little late. We'll be live a little bit later for F2 as well as F3. And obviously, the big one is the second practice session taking place at 5 o'clock. Smash like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel as well. And I'll see you guys.